everyone, and welcome to Breaking Character LARP. Whenever we're not out in the field LARPing, we usually like to play some war games. D&D, 40K, Age of Sigmar, Warhammer, you know the drill. So today I want to take a look at a little project that I've been working on. I want to share with you guys because I figured this might be a nice way to help quickly elevate your game. I'm not really good at painting miniatures. I know a lot of people out there kind of have that same anxiety. I'm really good at blocking colors and like putting paint on models, but you know, the finer details kind of escape me. So I'm really a big fan of making terrain. So that's what we're working on today. These are some little dollar store style palm trees that we found on eBay. Our good friend Kevish bought a set of these and gave them to me, and as you can see, they don't really stand up very well. They look perfectly fine, and of course I have a beach board, and I've been dying to get some use out of that beach board, and of course I play Lizardmen, so having some palm trees in a foresty setting would be perfect for my guys. So my issue is I want to take these and I kind of want to elevate them. I kind of want to make them a little bit better. So let's take a look over here at the workshop and see what we could do to just make these pop a little bit more. Here we have our palm trees, and the idea is that I'm going to put it on a foam base here. This is some insulation foam. You can get it at pretty much any hardware store. This one is about a 1-inch thick, and we're going to use this to support the tree. Easily the leaves just come straight off, so if you just pull them a little bit and boop, they're going to come right off there for you. Nice and easy. Before I try the rest of these, I want to see if it's going to work in theory. So I put a hole in the bottom of the foam here, and I'm just going to thread the tree trunk through there. And that should provide like a really stable base for this. It won't fall over or knock over. And again, let's try to see if a mini can fit under there. And that's just a that's a Space Marine Lizardman that I made a while back, and yeah, he'll fit under there perfectly. Take a pair of sprue cutters, and since these are from the dollar store, you can kind of see there's some flash, I guess, on the around the model. These are pretty cheap, so you will see that there's some mold deficiencies. There's some issues there. So just go around with a pair of sprue cutters or a hobby knife and try to clip away as much of that as you can. This plastic isn't really going to take paint well, so just like most of our other wargaming terrain, we're going to need to use a primer. This is Army Painter's Primer. It is their leather brown variety. I've had this for another project, and it's going to work wonders for this one here. It's going to save us a lot of time. Going to take a piece of cardboard, take some loops of tape, and I'm just going to put our pieces on top. And that's going to allow us to kind of spray from all the different directions, and that way we won't have to flip them around or move them. We're going to put all of our tree trunks in this piece of cardboard, go outside, and we're going to prime it. Now that we have our methodology down, let's cut some of these pieces out. As you can see here, I have a big giant sheet of this stuff. I actually got this from a neighbor. He works on movie sets, and he had a basement full of it, and when he moved, I got a basement full of it. I'm going to cut into a smaller piece, and that'll make it easier to work with. What I'm just going to do is I'm just going to try to shape it into a kind of an island shape here. Taking the corners, trying to do, not really round it off, but I want to make sure that it doesn't look artificial. I want to try and make it look as natural as possible. I'm going to cut some indents through it. I'm going to really just make it look kind of rough. Make it look like it's a rocky outcropping or maybe a little bit of a hill. As you can see here, I have some pieces of terrain that I had before, and I really want these to match. I made these for islands for a swamp board. And as you can see, there's kind of ridges around the outside of it. That's kind of make it look more natural. And that's our plan here. So I'm just going to take my hobby knife and cut these ridges throughout the entire body of our foam board. The idea is to make it look as natural as possible, so I'm not doing it in any rhyme or reason. I'm not going every couple inches. It's just going to be kind of sporadic and random in different angles to try to create this natural look. I don't want it to look too fake. Now we need to again make a hole for our palm tree to come through. I'm going to use a screwdriver this time. That kind of gives me a little bit more control. And as you can see, thread our palm tree through and it fits perfectly. We can't use spray paint like we did on the palm trees because the accelerant in the spray paint will actually melt away some of the foam. So we need to protect it first. There are a few options you can use, and this is the one that I like. Personally, I like to use gesso. Gesso is an acrylic paint primer that you would normally put like on a canvas or something. You can also use Elmer's glue. You can literally just put it straight onto it and that'll create a protective barrier. Or you can use Mod Podge. And again, this is some Mod Podge that Kevish made for me.
and I've had it in a bottle for a while. But since I have so much of this gesso, I'm just going to go ahead and start with gesso first. It's white, and I kind of want our rock croppings to look gray, so I'm going to add some white gesso, and then I'm going to put some black paint in there as well and mix that up. I tried some other styles here too. This is like a mound. It's almost like the stereotypical cartoonish desert island kind of a thing, and I want to try to put 2 pieces of palm tree through it. So here's the gesso on, and it paints on pretty nicely all over the model. And again, make sure you get it everywhere because this is our primer and our first layer of paint. You could buy your own flocking, but I'm going to make some from this moss that I got at Michael's. That's a craft store here in the United States. Be careful, this stuff kind of does stain. I got a little wet when I was working with this, and it kind of made a stain on my fingers, so be careful with this. There's 2 ways to do this. You could first just take a cup, throw your moss in there, and take a pair of scissors, and then just chop it up. At this angle, the moss kind of stays in place, and all you have to do is just sit there and cut up with your scissors, and it'll kind of mince it for you. The other way is you can use what's called a slap chop. Now, this is something that you might remember from the early 2000s. The idea is that it's supposed to be like for chopping up, I don't know, fruit or meat or whatever. But you could easily throw your moss in there and just sit there and chop it away as well. So this was actually from my mother. She had one of these that she was going to throw away, and I took it for this project. But again, I think that sometimes the scissors in the cup might just be better and might just be faster. But I wanted to see how this slap chop would work. Now that we have our rocky bases finished, what we're going to want to do now is to put on a dry brush of a lighter gray over top. And this is going to be pretty simple. All we're going to do is mix some white with a little bit of black. For a dry brush, you just get a little bit of paint on your paintbrush, and then you just try to wipe it off as much as you can on a piece of paper. What happens then is when you bring that over your model, it actually pops up all of the details. So you can see now this gray piece is now kind of popping. All those ridges that we put in there are now going to brighten up, and all those recesses are going to stay black. And I'm just going to come through and give it a little bit of progressively lighter and lighter shades of gray. Once they're nice and dry, it's time to put on our flocking. This is just simple white glue. This is Elmer's glue that I'm going to spray on top of all this. Take a paintbrush and mush it all around. And then our cup of flocking that we have here, we're just going to put it over top of it all. Knock off some of the excess. If you have some spots that you missed, put a little bit more on there and let them dry. Finally, our trunks are dry, and as you can see, even this first layer of paint kind of looks better than the original plastic that's there. To make some of those details pop on here, we're going to use some Warhammer paints. What we have here is Rhinox Hide, which is a kind of a dark brown. And we're just going to go through with a quick dry brush all over the trunks, try to pop out some of those details. Once that's dried, we're going to put a wash over top. This is Agrax Earthshade. This is perfect. This is the brown version of the black Nuln oil that everybody always uses. And what it does is it just goes into all the recesses and kind of makes those parts darker. So it's going to add some quick, easy detailing for us here. Let's go back to the bases. As you can see, they're pretty much well done, but there's still pieces of the flocking coming off. To help finish this off, we're going to put a sealant over it. This is a matte finished spray. We're going to take this outside, spray it all over, and that should keep most of the flocking from coming off. Make sure you use a matte finish. If you don't use the matte finish, it'll actually become very glossy and shiny, and that's what we don't want. Now time for our final assembly. Let's take our palm trees, shove them through the bottom of the bases, and then let's put our leaves on top, and look at that. Perfect. I'm not going to paint the palm leaves. As you can see with the finished board, the palm leaves really actually match the rest of the color gradient that I'm going for with this board, which is nice and bright. You can paint them if you wish, but I'm going to keep them this color. I think they look perfectly fine. And here you can see The reason why we painted it, the original one just doesn't have any detail whatsoever compared to our new one here that has just even some minor detailing. This one I wanted to try something different. I actually have 2 palm trees and then a third one coming out at a weird angle. So I had to use some hot glue to make sure that one stays in place. And just, again, to give some variety to these. And there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. We are done. They match the rest of our board pieces pretty nicely. And compared to the old version, which again would not even stand up on its own, our new pieces look beautiful. And I want to see what these look like on a display, so I'm going to try to make our little table here that we have for Age of Sigmar, my castle pieces, some of the islands and docks, and I'm just going to scatter around these palm trees, and yeah, it just really makes the place pop and feel more alive. It feels way more Caribbean, or Lustrian, if you will. These, of course, are perfect for your Lizardman army. I play a Seraphon, so these guys are just going to match perfectly with the rest of my army. It creates that perfect jungle vibe, while also creating some line-of-sight blocking terrain for our Lizardmen. One of the other war games we love to play is Drax America, and as you can see, this fits perfectly for pretty much any 28mm war game. I usually kind of get bored of the American Wild West, so putting our cowboy games in the middle of the Caribbean, just really makes this pop. Adds a nice splash of color to all these browns. As you can see, this will fit for any kind of a pirate game, a cowboy game, a futuristic game, any game where there's a beach. You can easily throw your models in here and it will work perfectly. This is Breaking Character LARP. Thank you very much for watching. As you can see, we're into a lot of different hobbies, and miniature wargaming is one of those things that we just always keep coming back to, falling in love with it again and again and again. So if you'd like, please comment and subscribe. Follow along with us as we continue to make more of these how-to videos and as we continue to work on some of our battle reports. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.
Watch the science bitch with the slap chop. You're gonna be the great mood all day. Cause you're gonna slap in your troubles away with the slap, slap in your troubles away with the slap chop.